Well, wherever you're from, whoever you support, you have to say that is one heck of a team. 1 Australian, 7 New Zealanders, 3 South Africans, 2 Irishmen, 1 Welshman and an Italian, and not a punchline in sight. I can hear Twitter spheres reaction. I can hear the humming going already. Stand by your beds and feel free to agree, to disagree. Let's play nicely, shall we? Maggie, so many to choose from. I would love to see that team in action. How much debate went into it, and how did you reach the final selection?
Again, similar to the women's team in a decade, there were so many players in certain positions where you would go, well, I don't know if they would work really well in that unit, and no, they're actually the best player of the decade, considering some of them were really good at the start of the decade, where another player stood out at the end of the decade. But there were some really heated discussions. But I like to think again that the team that we've selected is a true reflection of what has been outstanding performances over the last 10 years. And it wasn't easy, but I think it's a good team. Okay, brilliant. Let's have a canter around the course and hear from some of the old warlords themselves. Some wonderful players. And first up, Habana and O'Driscoll.
Yeah, I can't believe Richie McCaw managed to make that team. It's kind of flabbergasting, isn't it? Like, literally, there's a few guys that just pick themselves. Players that stand out for me is the impact that kind of Beast had at the end of the last decade in the Lions Tour for South Africa in winning that series, and then at the end of the next decade is winning the Rugby World Cup with South Africa. And that consistency of performance in a country where there's no shortage of loose head props, to be able to consistently stay the pace and fend off, possible adversaries is pretty impressive in an attritional position like that. So I guess those guys for me really stand out that have been able to consistently do it for 10 years.
Someone for me that really stands out is Sergio Parisse. I think the talisman of the Italian team, a guy whose team, I think have lost 100 games in a row in comparison to Richie McCaw, captain New Zealand to 100 wins, and to then be playing at such a level over such a long period of time, to be recognised by peers and fans around the world as someone who was just so world class in a team that always struggled, I think is really exceptional.
Well, it's certainly one hell of a back row. If you're looking at combinations, you're not going to get a little change out of McCaw, Pocock and Parisse. And first of all, let's hear from the great Australian, David Pocock.
So many amazing experiences in rugby, and feel very grateful for the opportunities I've had. Moved to Australia as a 14-year-old, and it had been my dream to play at a Rugby World Cup since I can remember, and to go on and play for the Wallabies and represent Australia and represent so many people back in Zimbabwe at 3 World Cups has been a childhood dream. So feel incredibly lucky to have had the career I did.
And let's hear as well from Italy's talisman over the last 10 years or so, Sergio Parisse.
Well, I never expect something like that. Obviously, it's a huge honor, and I humbly thank you World Rugby for this award. Of course, it's a really nice thing for my career. I arrived at the end, of course, my career, and the last 10 years were really excited for me. Exciting in terms of rugby. I hope to play my best rugby in the last 10 years with the national team, with my club Stade Français, with my new club Toulon now, and it's really nice to be involved in this team. When I saw maybe the other guys involved and the other number 8s who play in the last 10 years, that means a lot for me, and especially because I was involved in a national team that we don't get too many victories during the way, and be in that 15, it does mean a lot, and hope does encourage as well the Italian rugby players to keep working, follow your dreams, and I think rugby is about that. And I personally never was really a fan of awards and personal achievement. I think rugby is about group, but I'm really proud of course of this award.
And fittingly, perhaps, let's finish with 2 good mates, 2 good teammates as well. They had a pretty good decade. In fact, they weren't bad the decade before that either. First of all, the World Men's Player of the Decade, Richie McCaw.
It's a pretty cool list to be alongside, and each one of them have done some amazing things for their teams. I was lucky to play alongside a few of those guys, and having people like that alongside you makes playing rugby pretty easy. And my old mate DC, we got to play a long time with him, and he must have been close to winning it perhaps because he had a pretty good period too. But it's pretty cool to be alongside them.
And the man who played alongside him, not only for the All Blacks, but the Crusaders as well, Mr. Dan Carter.
It's a huge honour. It's probably quite a couple of number 10s that could have easily slipped in there ahead of me. So extremely grateful that I got part of Team of the Decade alongside some rugby greats. So it's a huge honour.
Talk about rugby greats. One of them's your best mate, Richie McCaw, and he actually got the Player of the Decade. I mean, for you seeing him receive that award, that must be awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I often look back on my career, our career, and often realise how lucky I was to be playing at the same time, the same era as Richie McCaw. He was a very unique, special, once in a generation type of player. So it's not strange that he won the Player of the Decade, absolute champion of a man, and such an amazing rugby player.
Once again, congratulations.
Thanks, mate.